The night cracked open without warning. Over the frozen plains near Donbass, shadows flickered like sparks. Russia's Shahed 136 drones, slender, delta-winged, ghostly, roared to life. Engines shrieked. Red beacons blinked against the black. In one synchronized ignition, dozens of loitering munitions leapt into the sky, slicing through the cold air toward Ukraine's sleeping horizon. Ukraine had been waiting. Deep within an underground command center outside Kharkiv, radar screens glowed emerald. Operators whispered coordinates. The moment the swarm breached detection range, a chain of encrypted commands flashed through Ukraine's defense grid. Within seconds, mobile fire units moved out, trucks, launchers, and electronic warfare vans rumbling into pre-marked fields. For months, these Iranian-built drones had haunted Ukraine's nights, slow, loud, and relentless. They flew at barely 600 kilometers per hour but carried 50 kilograms of high-explosive payloads, enough to turn apartment blocks to ash. Russia bought thousands from Tehran, each costing around $200,000, cheap enough to swarm, deadly enough to terrify, but that low-cost advantage came with a hidden weakness: centralized storage. Russian intelligence believed their drone factories in Tatarstan were beyond reach. Ukrainian analysts disagreed. Satellite data, intercepted transmissions, and infrared traces showed convoys of drone chassis being moved nightly toward a warehouse complex west of Kazan. It became Ukraine's newest target. In Kiev, as midnight approached, Ukraine's Air Force commander signed off on the operation. The codename Moth. The objective: destroy the storage yards holding up to 1/5 of Russia's Shahed fleet. Not interception, elimination. Across command posts, calm voices echoed, "Launch window confirmed." Authorization granted. Engines flared, wings unfolded, and Ukraine's own drones roared to life. The Ukrainian strike group comprised two formations: long-range kamikaze drones and escort units armed with anti-radiation payloads. They climbed to 2,000 feet, their propellers humming like mechanical insects. Under moonlight, they crossed the border, each unit locked on preloaded coordinates, navigating by AI through GPS-jammed corridors. Below them, the world slept. Far away in Russia's drone depot, technicians ran maintenance routines. They had no idea the enemy was already overhead. When the first Ukrainian drone dove, its impact shattered the night. The explosion tore through the main assembly bay, fuel lines bursting into flames. Windows shattered across a kilometer radius. The factory became a volcano. Glass rained from the rafters like silver dust. Flames twisted upward, consuming launch racks, guidance modules, and crates stamped Geran 2 ready for deployment. Inside, hundreds of partially assembled drones lay in ruin. Sensors melted. Propellers spun off their mounts. The heart of Russia's drone supply was being carved out, one detonation at a time. Russian guards panicked, sprinting across the compound. Alarms blared, sirens echoed. Then a second Ukrainian drone smashed into the power substation. Sparks cascaded across transformers. The entire grid failed. Monitors in the command office went black. Officers shouted orders, but communications were dead, jammed by Ukrainian electronic warfare signals, humming invisibly above. As the fire spread, nearby fuel trucks ignited. One explosion rolled into another, each louder than thunder. The night sky glowed orange. From 50 kilometers away, locals recorded videos of flames clawing the clouds. Russia's billion-dollar drone fleet, its pride and leverage, was being erased before sunrise. Ukraine's gamble had worked. Meanwhile, back in Kiev, operators tracked telemetry feeds. The control room was silent, except for the hum of cooling fans and the beep of radar locks. One technician muttered, "Direct hit confirmed." Another whispered, "Secondary detonation, major fuel loss." In those few moments, a nation that once defended had struck deep into the aggressor's core, but Russia would not stay silent. Within 40 minutes, Moscow's air defense network ignited. S-300 and Panzer batteries rotated toward the incoming Ukrainian drones still en route. Missiles launched, streaking across the night at Mach 4, their contrails carving white scars through the smoke-stained sky. Explosions bloomed mid-air like brief suns. Some Ukrainian drones fell, torn apart by shrapnel. Others broke formation, flying low over tree lines to evade radar. Pilots guided them manually, pushing past electronic countermeasures. A few reached secondary targets, fuel depots and spare part hangars, before detonating in blinding flashes. Even partial success meant devastation. Russia's production line was crippled. Inside Moscow's military command, reports flooded in. Multiple impacts. Communications offline. Fire uncontrollable. Analysts realized the cost. At least 120 drones, roughly $20 million worth of assets, were lost in storage, alongside millions more in destroyed infrastructure. Russia's dependence on foreign-built weapons had become a strategic liability. At dawn, the smoke pillars were still visible on satellite imagery. Charred skeletons of drones littered the compound. Engineers in hazmat suits wandered through molten wreckage. Each twisted frame symbolized another failed sortie. The once proud Shahed production line now resembled a graveyard of steel insects frozen mid-flight, but Ukraine's triumph was only the first act. Russia responded swiftly. Within hours, its commanders ordered retaliatory strikes. Hundreds of Shaheds launched from bases in Crimea and Kursk. The drones howled through the sky, engines buzzing like locusts. Ukraine's air defenses reactivated, interceptors firing streaks of fire into the darkness. Radar operators shouted altitude readings. Anti-aircraft guns thumped rhythmically. One after another, enemy drones exploded mid-air, their burning fragments falling like comets. Yet a few broke through, detonating near Odessa's outskirts. The war of drones had become symmetrical, swarm against swarm, machine against machine, precision against persistence. Still, the psychological tables had turned. For the first time, Russia's engineers watched their own creations crumble under the same terror they once inflicted. The myth of invulnerability dissolved in smoke. Television channels in Moscow tried to minimize the story, but satellite footage leaked instantly across social media. The narrative shifted. Foreign analysts dissected the strike with surgical fascination. Military think tanks calculated the losses, nearly $100 million in total damage, factoring destroyed hardware, infrastructure, and downtime. They noted how Ukraine's coordination between drones, artillery, and jamming set a new precedent for hybrid warfare. It was innovation born of necessity. In the hours that followed, Ukrainian commanders released no official statement. Silence was their strategy. But on encrypted networks, intercepted Russian chatter told the truth. Our drones are gone. The factory is ashes. The admission spread like wildfire, echoing in defense circles from Brussels to Washington. A new chapter had begun. When dawn finally painted the clouds red, the battlefield looked transformed. Russia's billion-dollar investment lay in smoking heaps. Ukraine's operators, exhausted yet steady, watched the sunrise through shattered windows. They had not only defended their homeland, they had reached across borders and burned the hand that once struck them, and yet, amid triumph, came caution. This victory proved precision could outmatch volume, intelligence could outsmart brute force. But it also signaled escalation. Russia would rebuild, retaliate, and multiply. Ukraine's commanders knew the cycle of swarm and counter-swarm had only begun. The war had entered its mechanical age, cold, calculating, and merciless. By the second night, Russia's retaliation arrived like a storm. Dozens of Shahed drones launched from 3 directions, Crimea, Kursk, and Belgorod, cutting through the frozen dark like glowing arrows. Each engine screamed at full throttle, propellers slicing the air. Russian crews believed vengeance was coming. Ukraine saw only opportunity to strike again. At command centers across Dnipro and Odessa, Ukrainian radar screens pulsed with crimson dots, each one a threat, each one a signal of Russia's desperation. Operators remained calm. "Target confirmed," one voice said. "Vector locked. Fire." Within seconds, NASAMS, Patriot, and Gepard units fired in synchronized bursts. The air filled with tracers and thunder, explosions rippled across the sky. Half the drones disintegrated mid-air, shrapnel raining into fields below. The rest pressed forward through the chaos, low-flying and erratic, dodging radar sweeps. One clipped a power line, spiraled, and detonated over a frozen lake, its reflection glowing like a burning halo across the black surface. The night burned bright, but Ukraine was no longer content with defense. Deep inside Poltava, a covert launch team armed the next wave of counter-drones. Sleek carbon fiber frames, extended-range batteries, laser-guided optics. Each cost less than a Russian Shahed, yet carried a smarter brain. They would strike back not at the drones, but at the factories feeding them. Hours later, the second Ukrainian wave soared eastward, hugging terrain contours and jamming radars. Electronic noise crackled in Russian listening posts. Monitors filled with static, then silence. Moments later, blips reappeared, directly over Tatarstan again. Russia's own heartland was once more under attack, this time with precision algorithms guiding every glide angle. The first strike hit an open-air storage depot. Containers packed with drone fuselages erupted in a chain of detonations. Steel and carbon fragments shot skyward, slicing through cranes and fuel pipes. The second wave followed 30 seconds later, 5 drones diving simultaneously, their trails merging into a single streak of fire before impact. Russian responders froze. They hadn't expected a second hit so soon. Alarms wailed, power flickered, communications died. The factory's command room was engulfed in darkness. Only emergency strobes blinked. When backup generators kicked in, the security feeds showed a nightmare. Rows of smoldering wreckage and twisted frames where assembly lines once hummed. By dawn, intelligence confirmed catastrophic losses. Up to 200 completed Shaheds, each priced near $200,000, destroyed in place. Russia's $900 million drone project was hemorrhaging metal and money faster than it could rebuild. Moscow's top commanders convened a crisis meeting, demanding answers. None came. Every report ended the same: total loss. Ukraine's audacity stunned even its allies. Western analysts called it a surgical disarmament. No nuclear brinkmanship, no carpet bombing, just mathematics, timing, and stealth. Instead of striking cities, Ukraine had hit the origin of destruction. One operation had crippled an entire doctrine, forcing Russia to question its reliance on imported drone warfare. That morning, Russian state television remained silent. But footage leaked online. Satellite images showing burned hangars, trucks split open, warehouses flattened. Inside the Kremlin, denial crumbled beneath evidence. The realization hit hard. The war had shifted from battlefield engagements to industrial annihilation. Every factory was now a front line. Every engineer a target. Yet even in humiliation, Russia retaliated. Long-range missiles streaked toward Kyiv, seeking revenge. The explosions thundered over the Dnipro River, scattering glass through the capital. Ukraine's air defenses lit up the sky, intercepting 9 of 12 projectiles. Each impact shook the earth, but none could erase the success already carved into history. As debris settled, Ukrainian technicians analyzed intercepted drone fragments. They found Iranian serial codes, Persian assembly marks, and parts produced months earlier. Proof of Tehran's quiet hand. The evidence was undeniable. Russia's drone fleet was not Russian at all. It was borrowed war, built on foreign bargains and moral debt. In underground shelters, Ukrainian soldiers watched grainy feeds of the destroyed factory. The sight was surreal. Fire crawling across hangars, supply trucks turned skeletal. One soldier murmured, "They burned our cities." Now their sky burns. It wasn't hatred in his tone, just balance, long delayed, arriving at last. Retribution written in flame. Meanwhile, Ukraine's defense minister addressed the War Council. His words were measured, cold, precise. "We are not at war with factories. We are at war with the hands that build death." His command emphasized ethics even in vengeance. Every strike was calibrated, every target verified, a new model of warfare built on restraint and intelligence. Russia's next move was desperation. Within 48 hours, they launched another swarm. Over 270 Shahed drones aimed at Ukraine's cities, hoping to overwhelm defenses. But Ukraine had adapted. Its new Sky Shield protocol layered interceptors, decoys, and jammers. When the swarm came, it shattered. Over 240 drones fell before reaching their targets. The sound was apocalyptic, hundreds of aerial detonations in synchronized flashes. Civilians took shelter underground as anti-aircraft tracers streaked through the night like falling comets. Each interception painted the horizon red. By morning, silence returned. Ukraine stood bruised but unbroken. Russia had spent millions to prove nothing but exhaustion. Western military analysts called it the most intense drone. Engagement in modern warfare. They compared the coordination to digital choreography, artillery, radar, EW, and cyber warfare intertwined into one lethal ballet. Ukraine had rewritten the manual on asymmetric combat. When you can't outnumber, you outthink. When you can't overpower, you outmaneuver. Still, the war showed no mercy. Russia's generals doubled down, transferring what remained of drone production deeper inland. Satellite images revealed frantic reconstruction, new factories under camouflage nets, convoys of parts from Iran rerouted through the Caspian corridor. But every rebuild carried the scent of fear. Nothing felt safe anymore. As February ended, Ukraine launched another covert strike, this time targeting a transport hub moving drone fuselages by rail. 5 precision drones glided silently along the track, their engines whispering through the night. One by one, they struck the convoy. Fire engulfed the wagons. Explosions echoed across the Volga Valley. Moscow went dark again. For the first time, Russian citizens witnessed flames inside their own borders, not just on TV. Videos of burning rail cars spread across Telegram before censorship caught up. Panic rippled through supply chains. Workers fled drone plants, fearing more attacks. The illusion of distance between the front lines and Russia's heartland was shattered. Ukraine's high command studied the outcome with scientific detachment. Every success carried new data: blast radius, fuel yield, psychological impact. Warfare had evolved into an equation. They understood the truth. Technology had become the new terrain. Whoever mastered the algorithms would master survival. Steel no longer decided wars. Precision did. And yet, amid triumph, a chill ran through Ukraine's ranks. Victory carried its own curse. Each successful strike invited a larger retaliation. Each destroyed depot hardened Russia's resolve. Commanders spoke quietly about escalation thresholds, how far to push before provoking chaos beyond control. The line between deterrence and destruction grew thin. Still, for now, Ukraine owned the moment. The burnt drone fields of Tatarstan had become a symbol of resilience, proof that intelligence could wound an empire. Soldiers toasted under shattered skies. Engineers built new systems from salvaged parts. And somewhere deep underground, operators prepared coordinates for the next wave.